What up, though? Your boy Bowie here. So, this video is about talking about the some of the lingering issues that Mortal Kombat 11 has, and you know, some of these, a lot of these issues are really, I mean, they feel like they're not pressing until they happen to you in a match, and then you're like highly aggravated when they occur. You know what I'm saying? And it's particularly frustrating because this game, especially compared to MKX, does a lot of things right. See, in MKX, that game made you play a certain way in order to win. And basically that way was you had to be on constant offense all the time. You needed to be jumping in on people. You needed to be running up on people. You needed to be doing something, constantly applying pressure all the time. And you probably did a bunch of 50-50s into a hard knockdown so that you could do it all over again. And you did this repeatedly until your opponent died. Could you zone and win? Yeah, you could. But even the zoners did exactly what I just described. They all did it. You didn't win just by zoning. You won by having your mix of zoning and then doing the 50-50 loot pressure stuff. Period. And per match, it was about which of you could do that strategy the best. So those people that played a little bit more defensively, the ones that tried to, play a mid-screen kind of footsie game, we were just out of luck in that game because our style was not the style of the game. It wasn't the meta. Characters' movement speed was too slow. There was very little variety. The colors were kind of drab. And make no mistake, MKX was a good game that introduced a lot of new things. It had a lot of good elements that bled over into this game. But just about the entire time I was playing it, I'm like, if this game wasn't fun, I would not play this game. Because the way that, the combat occurs, it's fun when you're applying your BS down somebody else's throat, but it damn sure ain't fun when they're doing it to you, and you can't do nothing about it because you lost at the select screen. This game alleviates all of that. I mean, this game does have a meta. It's a strike-throw meta. But it's way less oppressive than anything in MKX. Even the most MKX-esque characters that, might have a launching, comboing 50-50 mix-up, they have supreme caveats with their 50-50s. They can't just do them just cause. One of them is Sub-Zero. People like to complain about Sub-Zero, proclaiming that he's playing MKX and MK11. But the reality is, his low, though good and safe, has short range. It does have short range. And so, that if the opponent if you're standing at distance away from him, he's not doing the low attack on you. So that means you only have to worry about the overhead. Like at this range right here. If I'm standing at a range like this, or slightly closer, sweep distance, It's overhead. Or that back one. That's what Sub-Zero can do from range. He's not hitting you with no kind of low attack at that point. And then speaking of the overhead, for starters, it's 19 frames. Fully reactable offline. And it's unsafe. Any comboing follow-up that Sub-Zero has from the overhead is full combo punishable. So he has an unsafe overhead that is full combo punishable. Even that crushing blow that I just did. If you block that correctly, it's a full combo punish. Period. Death. Which is a lot more than what could be said in MKX. But in addition to that, you know, this game's colors are brighter, the graphics are better, there's more stages, and the stages are better designed. There's less BS on the stages because, you know, the interactables are way less obtrusive. There's actual stuff to do in the single player aspect with the Towers of Time, and you know, there's character customization. Like, this person's Sonya looks very different than mine. Matter of fact, I like that outfit too, on the low. You know what I'm saying? That outfit is kind of fly. But you know, you can make your Sub-Zero look different than somebody else's Sub-Zero. You know, and you can customize the variations instead of being told what variations you're gonna have and what should be in a particular variation. You get to decide it. You know, and even though, you know, in ranked and in tournament mode, you don't get to have that customization, you don't have to play ranked in tournament mode. You can just play casual and make up whatever variations you want and give them their own name. And that's pretty cool. But in terms of the in-game meta, it was advertised as a mid-screen footsie-based, neutral-heavy game, sort of like MK9 was. And I would say that the developers were about 75 to 80% successful in that regard. For the most part, it is neutral-heavy. It is a footsie-based game where your spacing and your opponent's spacing actually matters quite a bit. You know, these combo artists that don't know how to trip guard and can't punish unsafe stuff are gonna have a much tougher time winning in this game than in an MKX. And it's a bold stance to decide purposely to make a game more competitor based and less based on esports. It's a bold move, and NRS should be commended for that. However, if you're gonna advertise a game as a footsie based neutral heavy type game, you need to actually stay within that motif for all your characters' normals, their strings, and special moves. All that stuff needs to obey the meta of the game. And if for some reason one of those things does not obey the meta of the game, if in other words the character's move or normal sort of skirts around the footsie aspect, there should be a big risk in doing so. But there are several pressing issues in this game that really sour the taste in people's mouths, which is a shame because it's like eating a really good slice of cake, but the frosting has that little bitter aftertaste, like that. You know, you keep eating the cake because it's good, but that aftertaste, after a while, you're going to be like, bruh, I'm not eating no more of that cake. That aftertaste is too much for me, you know what I'm saying? So, in my opinion, probably the biggest issue in this game are the hitbox problems. Bruh. Let me tell you something. I have never seen a Mortal Kombat be more finicky with hitboxes. I have jumped over opponents for them to uppercut me on the wrong side. Like, they'll be facing the right, I'll be facing the left, I'll be clearly and visually behind them, and they uppercut me. Or they'll hit me with a fatal blow. And it happened live and direct. Matter of fact, I got a video on my channel right now called I Just Got Screwed, or Now I Got Screwed, where that's exactly what happened to me. I was blowed when it occurred. But them ain't even the only hitbox issues. I mean, you have characters where, you know, some strings or some moves, depending on how the opponent blocks, you can escape it, and then other characters can't escape it. You know, there's all kind of strange ass hitbox problems. You know, let me give you an example that I know and have personal experience with. Johnny Cage. Now, people do a lot of crying about the outtake variation of Johnny Cage, talking about it's #1 in the game, and it's oppressive, and blah, 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 blah. But what these people don't know, or maybe they don't recognize it, or maybe they conveniently ignore, what they don't understand is outtake only exists because the previous two variations had flawed hitbox problems. For starters, Johnny Cage's hitbox himself caused a lot of issues for mad opponents. Like, you'll have certain characters who did they did mid strings, and those strings whipped on a crouch blocking Johnny Cage. So Johnny Cage's hitbox is an issue for people. And us Johnny Cage players were using that to our advantage, like against Geras and Liu Kang. But then, on the flip side, Johnny Cage has hitbox problems against certain characters. So, when Johnny Cage fights a Scorpion or a Sub-Zero or someone like that, his plus frame strings and special moves, and what I mean by that is the EX force balls, they hit crouch blocking opponents. So Johnny Cage will do a string into the force balls, and they connect on a crouch blocking opponent, allowing Johnny Cage to be +6. Nothing was guaranteed after him being +6, because his, fastest advancing normals are 11 frames, and it's a high, and the other next fastest one was 14 frames. But the point is, Johnny Cage got to keep his turn. And, the character is about putting those plus frames on people and then continuing his offense. The opponent could counter said offense, but it was up to Johnny as to how he wanted to proceed. Johnny Cage can do this to Sub-Zero, Scorpion, and, a good chunk of the cast, maybe 65% of the cast, and I might be being generous there. But against a character like Sonya, characters like Cassie, Cabal, Shang Tsung, and some other characters, those same force balls that hit crouch blocking opponents, they completely pass over other crouch blocking opponents. So now, those plus frames that he would get, that game of his that he would try to enforce, doesn't work now. So, you didn't even see Johnny Cage's fighting against those characters because he couldn't be Johnny Cage against them at all. Thus, Outtake was born. Because now, Outtake has a mid-fireball that hits everybody. because it's mid. And it doesn't travel straight, it travels in an arc. And it's meant to, you know, pester the opponent at full screen so that they come closer to Johnny Cage and fight. And that strategy seems to work on most of the cast. It also happens to be very annoying to fight against because people ain't patient and they don't like to walk and block. But against anyone who's labbed against Johnny Cage or who uses him, they know what his weaknesses are. They know he's not this impenetrable fortress that can't be defeated. And he certainly doesn't have a bunch of 9-frame mids to shove down people's throats. I'll get to those later. But, Outtake had to be created because the other variations were ineffective against a good chunk of the cast. And they were ineffective because of the hitbox issues. Those need to be fixed pronto. They needed to be fixed yesterday. They needed to be fixed the day the game came out. Matter of fact, before the game came out, they should have been fixed. Now, I can understand NRS is taking their time to try to fix them. As long as they get that fixed, I'm goody. But that needs to be fixed pronto. Alright? Now, hitboxes. So I already talked about those. Next pressing matter, crushing blows. So, it's funny, I said that and one happened on the screen at the same time. But, some characters have great crushing blows, like these two characters here. Both Sonya and Sub-Zero have viable KBs that can and will be triggered in just about every match that they're in. They don't need the crushing blows to be successful, but they've got them in their back pocket just in case they need them. Some characters don't have that option, like Johnny Cage, and Raiden, and Shao Kahn, and a couple of others whom I can't think of right now. Those characters' crushing blows, they'll be lucky if they get one in a whole match. Some of these characters will go entire tournament sets without even using a crushing blow. Because they can't trigger them. The requirements are too steep, you know? The requirements that seem to work the best are the ones that, you know, are either directly controlled by the player, like, you know, successfully hitting the move 2 times, or, you know, use the move in a 6-hit combo or higher or something like that, or, you know, those that are, you know, those requirements that are based on opponents doing things that every opponent is going to do. Every opponent's going to attack at the wrong time at some point. So you're going to get a counter of some kind. You know, people generally do unsafe stuff. So you can punish, you know, unsafe moves with some of these crushing blow strings. But then you have Johnny Cage's requirements for some of his crushing blows. And it's like, how is that ever going to happen? Like, one of his crushing blows is for his camera. He has to whiff 2 cameras. And then the third one is going to crushing blow. Problem with the cameras is they're slow on startup. They're very slow. They're slow on startup. Have a lot of recovery. While you sit up here flashing people, they gonna knock your ass down. So you have to cut your combo short. And Johnny Cage already has low combo damage, but you gotta cut your combo short in order to guarantee a camera flash. You know? And so it's obvious when you're trying to go for this KB. Some of the best KBs are done natural as hell. The ones where you're not obviously saving up for it, you know. The ones where the opponent always has to be on edge because you got it locked and loaded and ready to be used at any point. You know, those are the best kind. But a character like Johnny Cage doesn't even have access to that. And, you know, some people will counter-argue with, well, Johnny Cage is good enough to not need crushing blows. He doesn't need to be made stronger. And I'm like, look here. Crushing blows are a primary feature of this game. Matter of fact, they're a new feature exclusive to this Mortal Kombat. They're probably going to be carried over into Mortal Kombat 12. It don't make no sense for you to advertise crushing blows as a new feature and then have characters that can't use them. That don't make no sense. Every character should have at least 2 viable crushing blows that their players can easily use in every match they play. Because you have characters like Geras, who this boy can sneeze and do 3 crushing blows. He can do them on accident. You know what I'm saying? And then other characters, like I say, like Johnny, they'll play entire sets with people and might do 1 crushing blow on accident. That's silly. So crushing blows need to be normalized and consistent across the cast. So, crushing blows, I already talked about those. The other blow of this game, Fatal Blow. Let me tell you something about Fatal Blows. They are a good tool. I appreciate that they're tied to damage rather than meter. So you can spend 2 bars, do a highly damaging combo, and then put your fatal blow at the end of it to put that extra stank and that extra damage. So I appreciate that. But the problem with the fatal blows is some fatal blows are decent, some of them are kind of bad, and then others are just completely meta changing. So remember I was saying, this game was advertised as a footsie based neutral heavy game. But as soon as characters like Noob, Frost, Cabal, Eric Black, Jax, you know, and I know I'm forgetting others, Cetrion, you know, soon as characters like those, and probably a couple others that I'm not thinking about right now, as soon as those guys get a fatal blow ready and loaded, you gotta stop playing neutral. Geras is another one too, my bad. You gotta stop playing neutral against them. Because you know, if you go and try to attack them, aka do the very thing you're supposed to do in a fighting game, if you try to fight your opponent, you could die. You're gonna get hit with these fatal blows because of the armor. Let me tell you something. If you have a fatal blow, this is what NRS should do. All fatal blows that hit opponents from half screen or further should lose their armor. Period. They should lose their armor. They shouldn't have any armor on them whatsoever. If they do have some armor, the armor should only work against projectiles. That's it. But other than that, they need to lose that armor. Because it's stupid to knock a Cetrion down or to knock a Geras down. You got through their shenanigans. You did what you were supposed to do as a fighter. You kicked your opponent's ass. You beat them to within an inch of their lives. And now you go to try to finish the job off. You're going to finish the round or finish the match in some cases. And what happens to you? Armor, fatal blow. That's really dumb. That's bad design, and it goes against the meta of the game, which is supposed to be based on mid-screen activity. Now, I realize that most of these fatal blows are unsafe, but a lot of them are not. They're barely punishable. Some of them. Some of them. And they should be risky. Anything that's done in a fighting game should come with risk. Jumping should be a risk. Moving should be a risk. You know, sticking out an attack should be a risk. And if your fatal blow whiffs or is blocked, considering the kind of game-changing aspect that they have, they should be risky as hell to mitigate it. The fatal blows that can keep their armor are the ones that attack from up close. Because they ain't got that much range. And even a lot of them can have some of their properties tweaked. They shouldn't hit from so damn far. You know, you should be a sweet distance and then have to worry about an unreactable scorpion fatal blow, or, you know. I think most of the fatal blows should be like Sub-Zero or Baraka's. Or even Cage. Not in the fact that they should cancel, but Cage's fatal blow is really slow. Has a lot of armor, but it's slow. And you can react to it if you think they're going to do it. But of course you don't just throw Cage's fatal blow out. But if you were to do it with your scrubby ass, you should have your stuff blocked and punished. Now some people suggested, oh, let's make them go away on block or on whiff. I don't know about that. I just think they just need to have more risk. If the risk matched the rewards or the benefits of using them, I think people would feel a lot better about them. So, also, well, no, I'm done with fatal blows. But one other thing I don't see people mentioning all that much is punishing. For whatever reason, and this has been a Mortal Kombat thing since MK9. When a move is -10 on block, it is very difficult to punish those moves with 8 or 9 or even 7 frame normal. And don't even think about trying to punish it with a 10 frame normal. If something's -10 on block, you gotta have a 9 frame normal to punish that. And if your fastest normal is 9 frames, you probably ain't gonna get the punish most of the time. I don't know what it is about this game or about NRS's Mortal Kombat's, but look here. It is way too difficult to punish unsafe stuff in this game consistently. I mean, go ahead and try fighting Kotal Khan or fighting Jade and blocking one of Kotal Khan's primary normals or blocking Jade's EX glow kick. The glow kick has so much damn block stun on it that you're lucky if you get a punish. You gotta think about when to let go of block in order to get your punish. That's stupid. As soon as you block something and it's unsafe, you should just be able to, honestly, you should be able to just do the normals while blocking. And if not that, you should be able to release block. The opponent that did the unsafe move should be in some sort of unsafety stun or whatever, and you get your damn combo. As a matter of fact, it would be nice if there was some sort of animation added for every character when something was unsafe and blocked. Like some sort of stun animation where you can visually see, oh, that's not safe. Bam! Kill him. You know what I'm saying? That would be beautiful, but at the very least, I should be able to consistently punish negative moves, no matter what. It shouldn't even matter. If the opponent does something that I know is unsafe, I should be able to punish it. Period. And then also, there's some moves like Sub-Zero Slide, where if you block the slide from up close, the Sub-Zero's close enough for you to use your close range punish. But if you block the slide from distance, Sub-Zero's actually further away from you. So now you gotta use a different punish to punish the same move, just because of the distance. I don't know if people know that, but I learned that firsthand fighting Wallace, my homeboy. You know what I'm saying? He would do a Sub-Zero slide on me, and I know how to punish, because we would play the sub mirror, and I go to do 2-1, and my 2-1 whiffs completely. I'm like, what the fuck? I gotta do a standing 3 punish, which is slower. Does more damage, but it's slower, and it wasn't as natural at the time. But ain't no point of you learning your character's ideal punish if you can't even use it, because of the distance that you block the move from. It's dumb. Matter of fact, that's a defining feature of this particular match, because ideally, Sonya should punish Sub-Zero hard if you block a slide. Now look at what happened there. He blocked my slide, right? But I was kind of close. I was mid-screen or closer, so she was able to punish with back 1. If I was like 2/3 screen away or further and he blocked the slide, that back 1 would not have reached. Especially if they were mid-screen. She would have whiffed that completely. So I could have actually been using that to my advantage in this match, though I didn't need to. But NRS needs to make unsafe moves universally punishable, consistent punishes every single time. So there's that. Now, this right here, this next thing I'm about to talk about, this carries over into a lot of the gameplay. And that's the risk-reward ratio. That's what I call it. So, I have a guiding philosophy. My philosophy is every move, normal, string should have strengths and weaknesses. In other words, it should have a purpose and a time and a place where it should be used. And if it's used outside of that time and that place, and for, outside that purpose, it should be disadvantageous. So for every strength, every potent strength, there needs to be some potent drawbacks too. So that's my guiding philosophy. And truth be told, most of the characters are designed with that in mind. But most of them are in what's considered to be the A tier. So that would be the Sub-Zeros, the Scorpions, those kinds of characters. They're designed well. They don't do anything that they could just throw out there unthinkingly. Everything they do has to be planned and strategized, because a good opponent will blow them up for relying on it too much. But then you have those characters that have these moves and these normals that completely bypass this. And it's ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? So that needs to be addressed. Like moves like Gearus' Sand Trap, for instance. That move, yes, it's unsafe on block, but it's unsafe up close on block. If you're out there in the neutral where you should be in a fighting game like this, you have to spend the whole match being scared to move, because Gearus is going to do his sand trap on you. So you got to block all the time. So while you're blocking, You're preparing yourself to be hit by his mids. You're preparing yourself to be thrown. You ain't playing your footsie game because you gotta constantly worry about this move that you can't do nothing about unless you have an air projectile. A similar situation occurs with Cetrion, with just about everything she does. You know, she can just throw out certain moves, like her Boulder, and some of her other special moves that I don't know about right now. I don't know their names, but, you know, she can throw out these special moves, like her Teleport, and, as the opponent, you just can't do nothing about it. You can't stop her from throwing it out, and you're lucky if you can punish them for doing it, even if they do it at the wrong time. And that's really stupid. I mean, Jackie has that leap move that allows her to boing her ass across the whole damn map. That's one of those moves. You know, certain characters have advancing special moves that are unpunishable on block when others characters advancing special moves are death on block and whiff. Like, that don't make no sense to me. You know what I'm saying? Any advancing special move, whether it's low, high, mid, overhead, I don't give a damn. It needs to be full combo punishable on block. Period. Period. It just needs to be a full combo punish, no matter what. Okay? Sounds controversial, but I don't care. I don't care that Jackie doesn't have a full screen game. She's got good mids, very good normals, very good jump ins, and she has advancing buttons that make sure that she's never getting zoned out. Plus, zoning's not that powerful in this game anyway. She ain't getting zoned out of nothing, unless she's fighting Cetrion, so, child play. Now, quality of life changes. Look at what's happening right now. I'm looking for an opponent in the versus casual match. But you know what happens when I look for opponents? Most of them decline me. Why? Not because of my connection. They decline me because of my record. Like, look at this guy. 86% win odds. He said, nah, I'm a head out. I'm not fighting that. That's really stupid. These are casual matches. Why are people's win odds and win-loss ratios even being displayed? These are casual matches. The idea is to have fun. These are casual encounters so that you can learn the game and get better. Why is there some sort of, you know, bootleg reward for having a certain win-loss ratio? Why is that even being shown at all? NRS should completely remove win-loss ratios and the win-loss percentages from display in casual matches / rooms. The only place those things should be displayed are in rank mode and in combat league. Because that's literally what rank mode is. You are comparing yourself to everybody else. And in order to do that, you gotta have the numbers. But in casual sets, that stuff doesn't matter. You should be able to face good opponents, or face opponents with good connections that aren't shooed away by someone whose record looks really good. Because here's what happens currently. I'm playing this on PC, so I'm literally fighting against people from around the world. And I'll sit there and I'll decline like 7 or 8 people whose pings range between 150 and 250 milliseconds. Wi-Fi or wired, you know what I'm saying? I'll decline like 10 of those people, and then I'll run across one person that has a ping of 61 milliseconds, and I'm like, oh my god, yes! But guess what happens? They see my win-loss record, they see that ratio, and they say, F that shit, I'm out. You know what I'm saying? My bad, I ain't mean to cut. But you know what I'm saying? They'll sit there and they'll decline me because my win-loss ratio is too high for them. That's stupid, guys. That's not gangsta. They just need to do away with them. And in their place, they should show Wi-Fi or wired connection, and they need to show the volatility of the connection. So in other words, you know, I should be able to tell whether somebody is on a weak-ass Wi-Fi or wired connection versus whether they're on a very strong and stable wired or Wi-Fi connection, because there is a difference. I faced people that are wired and their pings were hopping all over the place. And then I'll play against people like my homeboys Mason Wallace, who they might be playing Wi-Fi and them connections are strong and stable. Because they ain't sharing their internet with everybody. You know what I'm saying? It ain't too much for NRS to put that in there. You know what I'm saying? But, and there's a litany of other changes that some people want. You know, people want changes to Combat League and ranked mode and whatnot. And I understand that, but I ain't talking about those modes right now. I don't even play the modes like that. But if NRS can just start with the things that I talked about, it would help to stop people from feeling like they're being robbed for doing what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to be playing a neutral, footsie-based game. They're supposed to be anti-airing people. Speaking of anti-airs, jump-in kicks are way too strong. The NRS really needs to make jump-in kicks a little bit more risky. You know, they either need to come out later, or they need to be out prioritized by anti-air normals or something. The jump-in punches are fine, but those kicks, they need to definitely be toned down, because when someone does a jump-in kick on you, you're halfway scared to anti-air them, unless you're at range or something. You know what I'm saying? That needs to be addressed. And then up twos need to be addressed as well, because a lot of characters up twos don't even work. They're supposed to launch people and allow you to combo, and they don't even do it. You know, Sub-Zero's up two is kind of abysmal. Katana's up two is even worse. Hers might be the worst in the game. Meanwhile, a character like Gearus, who's already strong as F, has a really good up two that does combo and launch, and it's fast as crap and all this. It's really dumb. So up twos need to be addressed as well. But basically, like I say, those issues, if those things are addressed and changed, it would make people really feel like they're being rewarded for understanding neutral and playing footsies, controlling space, and exhibiting space control. So, those are my thoughts. I'll catch y'all later.